The year I was bullied the most, the system appeared by my side. It said, "Close your eyes." I obediently closed my eyes. The next second, the system opened its eyes in my place, leaped up, and with swift precision, smashed a loud thud onto the head of the person bullying me. Is the system's business now extensive enough to include proxy services? At the age of 7, a being called System took over my mind. Are you Nina Smith? Little me couldn't understand why a voice would appear beside me when no one was there. I couldn't learn to speak with it, mumbling for a long time before barely managing to squeeze out a "sorry" that drifted through the empty, dark room. "It's okay." Its voice was calm, polite yet distant, but it patiently taught me how to converse with it. My adoptive parents often took their anger out on me. It taught me how to protect my head when being beaten and how to tend to my own wounds. The most severe incident: my adoptive father and mother fought each other in a blind rage, and he ended up killing her with a knife. My adoptive father raised his bloodshot eyes and saw me standing at the door. The room reeked of alcohol and blood. My adoptive mother's eyes were cloudy and white, staring lifelessly in death. "Come here, go upstairs." Two voices spoke simultaneously, and without hesitation, I followed the system's guidance and ran to the 3rd floor. The front door of this small earthen building had been locked tightly by my foster father in advance. He had long wanted to do this. Liquor emboldens the timid, and under the influence of alcohol, he took the opportunity to kill my foster mother. My foster father's unsteady footsteps and angry curses followed closely behind. "Damn girl, get back here." I opened the window. "If you trust me," the system's calm voice sounded. "Close your eyes and jump." I took a deep breath, jumped down. The moment I closed my eyes, my body gradually felt weightless, and I landed safely on the ground. A loud thud came from behind me. My adoptive father's massive body collapsed like a crumbling mountain, a pool of dark red blood spreading beneath him. I returned to the orphanage. Everyone looks at me as if I were a freak. Her adoptive parents died soon after taking her in. Why was she the only one who didn't die? Could she be the murderer? Am I the murderer? My adoptive father jumped down while chasing after me. I survived, but he died. The police have already investigated and confirmed it has nothing to do with you. It was suicide. I nodded. No one wants to talk to me, but I don't feel lonely. I have the system for company. Sitting in a corner lost in thought is my daily routine, which seems to further cement my reputation as a weirdo. The ants are moving so slowly. The system calmly responds, "If the ants moved as fast as you, they'd be sent to the lab." I don't want to get up. "You can stay for 5 more minutes. Will you keep talking to me? I have sleep requirements." "All right." I purse my lips. A basin of hot water splashes into the ant hole with a splash. A boy as strong as a little calf grins at me, swinging the empty basin. "Hey, little freak, isn't it boring to sit here every day?" Refute him. I enunciated each word clearly. "I'm not a freak. You killed your own parents. And you still say you're not a freak. The police sent you here, you murderer." He made exaggerated facial expressions, unabashedly unleashing his malice. Everyone says that children are the most innocent and carefree, but don't forget, the malice of children is also an undisguised, pure evil, naively cruel, sending chills down one's spine. The system commands, "Close your eyes." I obediently comply, and as I shut my eyes, my body feels weightless once more. At the same time, my eyes reopen. Now replaced by a pair of light-colored pupils, their gaze sharp and condescending. The system said, "Who are you calling a murderer?" Seeing my sudden shift in demeanor, the boy's legs began to tremble inexplicably, but his mouth remained defiant. "So what if I call you a murderer? You are one." Amidst the crackling sound of electric current, the system snatched the empty basin and leaped up, delivering a swift, precise, and forceful blow that clanged loudly against his head. The boy's gaze instantly cleared. The system made as if to strike again, and he scrambled away, howling and crying. I opened my eyes, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face, clutching tightly at the sleeve of the headmistress in front of me. The headmistress crouched down, ignoring the boy who had falsely accused me first. "Nina's body is so frail it could topple over in a breeze. How could she possibly hit you with a basin, Nina? Tell me, did you hit him?" I shook my head fearfully. "He said I was a murderer." The dean's face grew darker. The boy panicked. "She's lying," the dean said. "Shut up." The system remained anonymous, its contributions hidden. After that, whenever the boy tried to pick a fight with me, those light-colored pupils would appear. Over time, he never dared to provoke me again. I continue to crouch in my little corner and talk to the system. Will you always protect me? What should I call you? I am just your system. I was stubborn. Believing that even a system should have a name, the system couldn't resist me. It never expected I'd be so persistent about learning its name, code 738. In my 5th year with 738, a couple dressed in lavish clothing arrived at the orphanage with a paternity test, holding me and saying I was their daughter, faced with such enthusiastic expressions. I felt unfamiliar and uneasy. 738 said, slowly hugged them back. I obeyed and did as told, crying, my eyes brim with tears. This face, so strikingly similar to Mrs. Smith's, looked so pitiful that Mrs. Smith immediately burst into loud sobs. She scrutinized me from head to toe, as if trying to find a flower blooming on me. Why should I cry? 738 paused for a moment. For you to live a better life. I half understood. For us to live a better life. I understood immediately, holding my breath as tears streamed down like a small waterfall. Mrs. Smith held me in her arms, reluctant to let go. The Smiths' villa was exceptionally large, bright, and spacious, with a full 3 floors. I hesitated at the doorway, unable to step forward. Mrs. Smith said gently, Nina, are you feeling unwell? I shook my head. I noticed 2 rather unfriendly gazes, which made me feel quite uneasy. Don't be afraid. Your parents have simply adopted another well-behaved and obedient daughter. 738's words were devoid of emotion, with a faint hint of a cold laugh detectable in them. I curled my fingers, unable to discern what I was feeling inside. At the doorway, 2 children about my age were holding hands. The boy wore an expressionless face, while the plump, delicate girl beside him coquettishly called for Mommy and Daddy. Mrs. Smith set me down. This is my brother and Ophelia. She looked at me expectantly. No need to accommodate. Tell her what you need. I know you're hungry. Do I need to call her Mom? 738 paused for a moment, then softened its voice. Don't be afraid. You can cry out if you want. I scrunched up my little face timidly. Mommy, I'm hungry. Mrs. Smith suddenly realized I hadn't eaten a single bite all day. She had forgotten. She turned around in a fluster and hurriedly instructed the chef. Everyone tacitly avoided mentioning the identity of the other girl. Only 738 told me, in the room they had prepared. I curled up under the covers. 738, I'm here. Are they really my mom and dad? Then why did you adopt another girl? Today, the Smiths told me that when I was 3 years old, the nanny took me and disappeared without a trace. For these 9 years, they have missed me every single day. Yet another girl was adopted just 6 months after I went missing, a girl the same age as me. They named her Ophelia Smith, to remember me, both contradictory and strange, throughout the meal. Ophelia Smith kept telling the Smiths about the amusing things she encountered at school, how the teachers praised her, and how friendly her classmates were. They chatted and laughed, a harmonious family. 8 out of 10 dishes were prepared according to Ophelia Smith's preferences. They discussed how to enroll me in school, which school to send me to, and what grade I should be in. I sat quietly on the side, waiting for arrangements. I never went to school, in my short 12 years of life. From the moment I could remember, staying with my foster parents meant enduring frequent slaps and beatings with wooden sticks, while returning to the orphanage meant bearing the isolation and exclusion under the labels of murderer and jinx. At night, I curled up under the blanket. 738, I don't like it here. 738 said, I know, but I'm here. Will you always be by my side? Yes. Then can you tell me a story? 738 after a moment of silence, agreed. Wait a moment. Let me search for the story. I curled up in the blanket and waited. Why don't elephants use computers? I couldn't help but ask. Why? 738 paused for a moment. Because elephants are afraid of mice. This was no bedtime story at all. Hugging my pillow, I drifted off to sleep amidst 738's rather clumsy attempt at dark humor. Mr. Smith finally arranged the school matters for me. I went to school with Ophelia Smith, on the first day. The driver started the car and headed to school as soon as he saw Ophelia Smith get in. I was a step late, standing there watching the car's exhaust fumes. I'm going to be late. 738. 738 said, don't worry. Stand here and get ready to board the second vehicle. Everyone has different waking times and living habits, so Lucas Smith and Ophelia Smith each have their own car. Just as I pulled open the car door, Lucas Smith immediately pressed my hand and pulled me back slightly. what are you doing? I'm going to be late. Ophelia Smith's car just left. Lucas Smith frowned. Did you wake up late and make Ophelia wait for you? No, I just got an extra reminder from Mom before leaving, fell 2 steps behind Ophelia Smith, and as soon as I stepped out, I saw the car door slam shut and the car start moving. Lucas Smith wouldn't let me get in the car, telling me to figure it out myself. Go talk to Mom about it. This is your own problem. Close your eyes. I closed my eyes. 738 coldly opened his eyes. This is the family car. Anyone can get in. Lucas Smith widened his eyes. Nina Smith, how can you be so ill-mannered? This clearly shows that Lucas Smith is someone who speaks without thinking, completely forgetting whose child I am and how I became ill-mannered. 738 shoved him aside and pulled open the car door to get in. Whenever 738 takes control of the body, I become incredibly strong. Lucas Smith stumbled, nearly falling flat on his back, fuming. He sat back down, not daring to lay a hand on him again. I'll tell Mom. 738 glanced at him. Go ahead, tell her. Lucas Smith flushed with anger. You think I wouldn't dare? Lucas Smith immediately went to complain to Mrs. Smith as soon as he returned. Mrs. Smith was taken aback for a moment. She crouched down in front of me and asked, Nina, is what your brother said true? I shook my head, my eyes red, timidly saying, Big Brother said I have no manners. Is it because I just came back? And Big Brother doesn't like me, but I haven't seen Mom and Dad for 9 years. I read word by word from the small panel given by 738. 738 encouraged, very emotional, perfectly delivered. Mrs. Smith was shocked and turned her head. Xing Yuan, how could you say such a thing to your sister? She's your own sister. It brought back memories of past years. And beneath Mrs. Smith's gentle facade, there was a hint of genuine emotion. By saying such things about your sister, are you hurting her? Or are you hurting Mom and Dad? Lucas Smith, Mom, that's not what I meant. Mom, I slowly stood by Mrs. Smith's side and wrapped my arms around her neck. Don't blame Brother. This morning Mom held me back to say a few words, and when I went out, I saw Ophelia and the car driving away. I had no choice but to ride in Brother's car. If Brother doesn't want me to get in, I just won't get in from now on. Coincidentally, Ophelia Smith had also returned. She came bouncing over to Mrs. Smith's side, calling her Mommy. Mrs. Smith asked suspiciously, Ophelia, was it you who wouldn't let your sister in the car this morning? Ophelia Smith covered her mouth. This morning I asked the driver uncle to wait for my sister, but he didn't seem to hear and forgot. Ophelia Smith blinked, her eyes moist. I'm sorry, little sister, I didn't know this would happen. 738 lightly said, close your eyes. I obediently complied. 738 opened her eyes and got straight to the point. So according to you, it's the driver's fault. The driver didn't wait. Ophelia Smith stammered. Maybe Uncle forgot. 738 said, did you forget, or did you tell him to leave quickly? Ophelia Smith cried, I've already apologized. What more do you want from me? 738 scoffed. Mrs. Smith frowned slightly. She's not stupid either. With just a little thought, she could figure out what was going on between an adopted daughter and a biological one, no matter how much you dote on the former. You still have to weigh the consequences. Once the truth about the adoption comes out and the differential treatment between the adopted and biological daughters is exposed, the Smith family would be crushed under public scrutiny. I regained control of my body, tilted my head, and looked at Ophelia Smith. I'm not blaming you. I just wanted to let you know that I'll be late next time. So please don't do this again. Ophelia Smith opened her mouth but couldn't say a word. She didn't have that much cunning, only capable of throwing childish tantrums within her limited abilities, spoiled yet laced with pettiness. In the end, it was all because Mrs. Smith spoiled him, seeing that I wouldn't press the matter further. Mrs. Smith gave me a satisfied glance, and the issue was swept under the rug. I went back to my room. Are you upset? I thought about it. I feel sad, but just a little. I've never seen how they loved me, nor have I experienced the stark contrast between love and indifference directed at me. So actually, I don't care, and I don't love them either. Because of my turbulent childhood experiences, I matured early. 738 believes that early maturity in my case isn't something to be happy about. On the contrary, it was heartache. Mr. Smith privately told me that I was his biological daughter, and enduring hardships to return to a prosperous family would make me better understand the struggles of life. Humans always take pride in suffering, but in reality, this twisted value system that glorifies hardship is the most foolish. You shouldn't have had to endure these hardships in the first place, I comforted. It's okay. 738. We've all made it through. 738 paused for a moment. You can tell me anything that's bothering you, then will you stay by my side forever? 738 couldn't help but laugh. You've asked this 3 times already, I persisted stubbornly. Will it? It will. In the silent night, the sudden knock on the door was eerie. 738 said softly, don't be afraid, I'm here. I opened the door a crack. Ophelia Smith handed in a bottle of milk, then turned away somewhat awkwardly. I'm sorry, I didn't answer. Ophelia Smith shoved the milk into my arms and ran off. She must have come here secretly on her own. I hesitated for a moment. Your slipper fell off. Ophelia Smith froze. She lowered her head, ran back to pick up the slippers, and then resolutely dashed away. Mrs. Smith changed drivers. After that, Ophelia Smith never again asked a new driver to speed away. This incident made her realize that because of her petty tantrums and willfulness, someone who needed to support a family had lost their job. At least there was no more open conflict with me. The 3 of us coexisted peacefully on the way to school for a while. In middle school, Ophelia Smith and I were assigned to the same class. At Mrs. Smith's request, Ophelia Smith reluctantly waited for me after school every evening. I understand Mrs. Smith's surveillance. She thinks that after all these years of me drifting around, carrying the label of an orphanage, not being raised by her own hands, I must have inevitably picked up bad habits. I don't have habits. I just like chatting with 738 while tidying up, Ophelia Smith urged from outside. Are you done dawdling yet? Ignore this. I nodded and packed up at my usual pace, walking beside Ophelia Smith with my backpack on. A boy passed by us. A young, handsome teenager handed a small daisy to Ophelia Smith. Ophelia Smith blushed. 738 and I quietly watched the scene unfold. Ophelia Smith only remembered my presence after receiving the flowers. She warned me, you're not allowed to tell Mom and Dad. I agreed, knowing full well no one would bother with her affairs, but I added, if you want, we could buy you a bouquet every day at home. Ophelia Smith was displeased. What do you mean? Do you look down on the flowers he gave? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? No matter how much Ophelia Smith argued and made a scene, I pretended not to hear. After that, Ophelia Smith received a small daisy every day, and 738 was responsible for keeping me company while I did my homework. I was slow to follow, but it wasn't in a hurry, teaching me little by little. Auntie knocked on the door and brought in a small cake. I had ordered it early in the morning. 738 reminded, your tooth hurt the other day, eat less sweets. I nodded while smiling at 738. Got it. Happy birthday. 738. 738 froze for a moment before speaking. Why is today my birthday? I'm a system. I don't need to celebrate birthdays, I said seriously, when I was 7 years old. You appeared by my side on this very day. It's the anniversary of your arrival in this world. That makes it your birthday. You need to celebrate it. 738 fell silent. The 3 candles on the cake spelled out, 738. In the past, I secretly wished myself a happy birthday in my heart. This year, I prepared a cake for a long time, wanting to celebrate its birthday properly. I lit the candles. The faint candlelight reflected on my face. I closed my eyes. No response. I urged, hurry up. 738. 738 took control of the body and opened its eyes. It stared at the cake on the table, remembering my instructions. Blow out the candles. Make a wish. Eat the cake. It blew out the candle. I opened my eyes again. A faint sweetness from the melting cake still lingered on my tongue. You only took 1 bite. I don't like sweets. What a pity. I'll have to eat them all. Though I was going to finish them anyway. Did you make a wish? Yes, I did. Remember to brush your teeth before bed. What is it? Saying it out loud will make it not come true. I was actually the one who taught it that phrase. I grumbled. All right then. 738. May all your wishes come true. Ophelia Smith plunged headlong into puppy love without hesitation. She gathered 30 daisies. 30 daisies mean I'll have to pass by that boy 30 times. Adolescence is inseparable from hormones. often sparking curiosity about the opposite sex and making it easy to develop mutual affection. Then, 738 gave me a detailed explanation about puberty. I'm lost in thought. Perhaps one day, you too will have a curious member of the opposite sex, I said with absolute certainty. No, 738 said, I'm unhappy. I said I can't. So I can't. 738 sighed. Fine. Teenagers tend to have more distinct personalities and no longer feel compelled to agree with things they dislike. 738 thinks I've reached that phase too. It's a bit emotional, growing up so fast. Lucas Smith was one grade above us at the same campus, and he quickly noticed Ophelia Smith's situation. Once, when Ophelia Smith secretly met with a boy, Lucas Smith caught them red-handed. It said he threw a huge tantrum when they got home, threatening to throw away Ophelia Smith's daisies, while she cried and desperately tried to snatch them back. I wasn't there on the day of the century's great battle. I was at the cat cafe with 738. 738 quietly examined each kitten, cat, non-threatening. Safe to pet, you seem like a bot. 738. 738 indifferently. Bots don't tell you stories every day, I retorted. Those aren't even stories, they're just lame jokes. 738. You actually don't know how to tell stories at all. 738 said. Should I keep telling them in the future? I nuzzled the kitten's head, pitifully saying, I want it. That day when I returned home, the atmosphere was very strange. Ophelia Smith's eyes were swollen and red, looking like she had cried several rounds. Lucas Smith frowned, staring at me. Where have you been? You didn't answer your phone. Don't you know something happened at home? My relationship with Lucas Smith has always been bad. I'm so sick of his face that I feel nauseous just looking at it. I whispered. 738. 738 said, close your eyes. I obeyed. Lucas Smith's face turned as dark as a pot's bottom. 738 locked eyes with him, exuding a calm yet dominant aura, those pale irises radiating an even deeper chill. No matter how arrogant Lucas Smith's temper was, he wouldn't dare provoke me further under such circumstances. He had noticed my frequent absent-mindedness and ever-changing personality, even suspecting I might have schizophrenia. A mentally ill person wouldn't care who you nominally are to them. 738 doesn't waste words, just get straight to business when taking over. I can sense it with 738. There's an undercurrent of fear in him. Your perception is correct. It's been going on for a while now. Someone like Lucas Smith, whose mind is constantly scheming, never stops his runaway thoughts. The more something exceeds his expectations, the more his mind spirals. The deeper he thinks, the greater his fear grows. That's the best. Lucas Smith ordered Ophelia Smith to go to school with him to keep an eye on her, and the two would have a big fight whenever they disagreed. Mrs. Smith complained, Ophelia, your brother is doing this for your own good, don't always argue with him. In front of her adopted daughter and son, Mrs. Smith unconditionally supported her son. When it comes to making a decision, the daughter is unceremoniously cast aside. Ophelia Smith sobs uncontrollably. Lucas Smith presses his lips together, anger still burning in his eyes. Is it simply because Ophelia Smith is in a relationship? I don't think so. My intuition tells me something's not quite right. As I passed by them, my gaze lingered for a brief second before I returned to my room. 738. Do you think if Ophelia Smith were their biological daughter, they would still choose Lucas Smith so decisively? 738 didn't immediately share its opinion but instead asked me what I thought. I pressed my lips together. No, they would still choose Lucas Smith. Lucas Smith is very bothered by my presence. He always subtly warns me, don't try to get close to him, or to Ophelia Smith. 738 gentle, don't be afraid of any threats from anyone or anything. I shook my head while munching on sunflower seeds. It's fine. 738. I'm not scared. I'm just curious why Lucas Smith always thinks he's the center of attention. I hesitantly voiced the words I'd wanted to say for a long time. Why does he always think everyone in the world wants to get close to him? To the Smiths, they're the cream of the crop. To me, they're nothing. 738 provided a reliable answer. Arrogance, or to put it more plainly, delusional self-importance. I suddenly understood. On Ophelia Smith's 16th birthday, the Smith family hosted a large gathering. I was dressed up in a little formal suit like a puppet, and the Smiths took the opportunity to introduce me publicly to everyone. I discussed with 738 why the Smiths chose Ophelia Smith's birthday to introduce me to everyone. In the end, we concluded it was purely to be spiteful. Everyone's expressions varied, but they still came forward one by one to congratulate them on finding me. Could it be that Mrs. Smith gave birth to twins back then? The question was obviously fake. Ophelia Smith and I look nothing alike. There's not the slightest resemblance between our faces. Everyone here is sharp. A quick guess would reveal the gist of the matter, especially with such an obvious name. Mrs. Smith remained unfazed by the skepticism. Ophelia and Nina are both my biological daughters. The adoption back then was handled with extreme caution, and few were aware of it. Their daughter's early disappearance was common knowledge. Many assumed Ophelia Smith was the one who had been found. Nowadays, the Smiths are shrewd people with their own little schemes in certain aspects. As merchants who prioritize profit above all else, the thought and time they've invested in me is far less than what they've given to Lucas Smith and Ophelia Smith. Lucas Smith is to inherit the company. Ophelia Smith also has her uses. While I've been categorized as difficult to teach, those missing 12 years form an eternal barrier, both for them and for me. 738, unusually silent, chose a moment to tell me the truth. I should have been taken back when I was 20. But 738 indirectly conveyed my message to the Smiths through system means, bringing the return date forward. I was stunned for a long time, so long that 738 apologized to me. I took the liberty of doing this. It didn't want to see me wandering homeless at such a young age. It didn't want to see me, at 20 years old, overwhelmed by the sudden family reunion. Nor did it want to see me being sent off for an arranged marriage while they pitted Ophelia Smith. Every potential issue could be nipped in the bud, so it helped me return here early. I breathed a sigh of relief. Turns out, it wasn't that I was hard to teach. They were just afraid I'd be hard to control. Now, by comparison, Ophelia Smith is clearly easier to manage. No, thank you. 738. 738 fell silent briefly. Even so, I never expected it would take these parents 4 more years after taking you back to publicly acknowledge you as their biological daughter. Even someone as intelligent and powerful as 738 couldn't comprehend the Smith couple's actions. All it could do was spare no effort in protecting me and achieving the liberation of Dee Dee's substitute fighting service. I smiled. I don't care about these things. This is good. No need to hold on to any expectations or yearnings for parental bonds. Without any news from me, they would still be a happy family with Ophelia Smith and Lucas Smith. Not the, we've been searching for you for 9 years, they claim. The sooner you know, the quicker you desensitize, giving you more time and advantage to face the troubles that follow. 738, thank you. Resting my chin on my hand, a sudden idea flashed through my mind. But there's one more thing I want to ask you. 738, what? You said we can swap control of our bodies, so can you go to school for me tomorrow? 738 said, go to school, be obedient. The grown-up face of 738 is not cute at all, no doubt. It was rejected. I'm still secretly happy. Only I can talk to 738. Only I possess 738. The relationship between Lucas Smith and Ophelia Smith maintains an eerie balance. While overseeing and controlling Ophelia Smith, Lucas Smith still finds time to deal with me amidst his busy schedule. He orchestrates isolation and buys off bullies. He can turn a small school into his playground. Too bad he doesn't know I have 738. 738 Dee Dee ride-hailing accounts ready to go at any moment. I make it home safely every day. Lucas Smith can't figure it out even if he strains his eyes in frustration. You're different from Ophelia Smith. You didn't grow up under his control. You don't have to live by his rules. And you have the Smith family's inheritance rights. I understand what Lucas Smith is afraid of. If I ever want a share of his wealth in the future, I can fight for it. Lucas Smith is selfish and hypocritical. There's no way he'd allow the Smith family to lose even a penny to me. This dynamic continued until Ophelia Smith and I went to college. Lucas Smith and Mr. Smith disagree. Lucas Smith wants Ophelia Smith to stay in the country. Mr. Smith said solemnly, Ophelia is studying art. It would be better for her to go abroad for further studies and then return. Lucas Smith disagrees. The atmosphere between father and son was tense under Mr. Smith's arrangements. Lucas Smith had long been involved in the Smith family's internal affairs and held some influence within the Smith family. Ophelia Smith turned pale and looked on the verge of collapse. Mrs. Smith chimed in, yes, didn't we originally plan to send Ophelia abroad? Let Ophelia go. Ophelia Smith burst into loud sobs and suddenly pointed at me as I passed by, shouting, "Why don't you make Nina Smith stay in the country? Why must I stay? It's not fair." Ophelia Smith remained fixated on the notion that studying abroad is a good thing, stubbornly convinced that Lucas Smith simply couldn't bear to see her succeed. She was unaware that the Smith family needed a prestigious trophy wife. Having studied etiquette for years, Ophelia Smith's foreign education would bring significant benefits to the Smith family through marriage alliances. "I'm going abroad to study," Ophelia Smith glared at me. "And Nina Smith has to go too." My hand, reaching for the stair railing, paused slightly. Me, Lucas Smith couldn't leave Ophelia Smith behind in the country. I went abroad with Ophelia Smith. I looked out the window, where mist swirled and the shadows on the ground grew fainter. Ophelia Smith sat beside me, sobbing uncontrollably. She couldn't stand my calm demeanor and accused me of not loving our parents and brother. "Going abroad seems to be what you wanted, but you won't let me stay in the country with Lucas Smith." I looked at her. "You can't have your cake and eat it too, Ophelia Smith." She didn't want to be controlled by Lucas Smith, nor did she want me to be alone with Lucas Smith, fearing that I might grow closer to him. "She's overthinking it. The sight of Lucas Smith's face makes me want to vomit." Ophelia Smith stared at me unblinkingly. "Why do you get to study what you want, while I'm stuck continuing with art? Seems a bit smarter now." I felt a faint glimmer of anticipation. That expectation vanished when she tried to list any possible reasons why Mom and Dad, and Lucas Smith, might prefer me over her. Me, Ophelia Smith's imaginary rivalry is way too intense. I don't think it's entirely her fault. The main reason is that Ophelia Smith has been under Lucas Smith's long-term psychological manipulation, making her believe that the root cause of her life's struggles is me. I got my hopes up too soon, thinking she could actually come up with something different. I thought for a moment and tapped her head, probably because here, you and Lucas Smith are cut from the same cloth, little airhead. When I scold one, I'm scolding both. Ophelia Smith's face turned pale, and she bit her lip. "You never treated me as a sister," I asked curiously. "Did you really think I considered you a sister before?" I patted her shoulder to comfort her. "Not just for this reason. There's also bloodline. No matter how much the Smiths adore Ophelia Smith, they can never forget that she doesn't carry the Smith family blood. They need Ophelia Smith to be a beautiful vase for a marriage alliance. This is quite unethical. Ophelia Smith is different from me. For 3 years, she returned home almost every month to reunite with her family. Sometimes, Lucas Smith would demand she return twice a month, with no room for refusal. Otherwise, she would face having her living expenses cut off or being confined. Ophelia Smith thought they were just being overly strict, completely unaware that in her family's eyes, she was a highly valuable cash cow. "I'm lying on the beach sunbathing." 7:38. "Should we go back?" "Up to you." "What if I don't want to go back?" "You'll still be doing just fine." 738 has accompanied me across the world. I didn't grow into the face the Smiths wanted me to be, as they demanded. They've threatened countless times to cut off my living expenses unless I return. But it's no use. 738 isn't one to be trifled with. They're powerless against me. Sometimes I wonder about 738's origins. I rested my chin on my hand. In novels, systems always assign tasks that people have to complete to get rewards. 738. "Why have you never given me any tasks?" 738 sighed helplessly. "You should be worried about why I can swap body control with you. If I were a bit more malicious, wouldn't you never wake up again?" My eyes sparkled. "It's okay, if you want to experience this world. I can give you control anytime." 738 let out a sigh. "All right, I'm assigning you a mission now. I want you to live a safe, healthy, and happy life. Mission duration, until the end of your days." I froze slightly. "Then let's add one more condition." "What?" "Add yourself to it." 738. "I want you to stay with me until the end of my life." 738. "Do you think a system can fall in love with a human?" "No." "Then, no," I said dejectedly. "I haven't even said it yet." 738. A light cough. I was out enjoying my freedom when Ophelia Smith called me, her voice choked with tears. "Nina Smith, why won't you come back?" I was utterly baffled. "What's the point of going back?" Her voice was hoarse as she spoke through tears. "Did you know all along that our parents were arranging a marriage alliance? They won't let me leave anymore. I have to go through with this arranged marriage." I smiled faintly. "This is their love for you, Ophelia Smith. Have you forgotten how you accused me on the plane? You said I was selfish and cold-hearted, hypocritical and unfeeling, that I didn't love our parents, that I couldn't be a good sibling. See, you said it yourself. My relationship with all of you was never good. How could I have known about this earlier? Ophelia Smith's voice was slightly hoarse. I won't agree to an arranged marriage. My brother said he doesn't want me to go either. They wanted to marry her off to a widowed business partner to gain an advantage in their collaboration. The partner was in his 30s. If he had children with Ophelia Smith, the Smith family's business dealings would sail even more smoothly. Then you'll have to figure it out yourself. Why call me? Don't tell me you're expecting me to arrange a marriage alliance for you. Ophelia Smith. Have you forgotten I wasn't found until I was 12 and only publicly acknowledged at 16? In terms of marriage value, I'm far beneath you. Didn't you say I don't love them enough? Since you love them so much, keep loving them with your eyes closed. I paused, then added one more thing. Oh, speaking of Lucas Smith, let me butt in with one more thing. Have you ever been to Lucas Smith's house? If you're bored, you might as well drop by a few more times. Ophelia Smith was slightly taken aback. Obvious what? Nothing much. A few days later, while I was watching the aurora in Iceland. 738 suddenly said, Ophelia Smith heard what you said. I perked up immediately. Something major has really happened in the Smith family this time. I bought a ticket and flew back without stopping, ready to do something big. Knowing Ophelia Smith's personality, just mentioning it once would be enough. No need to push further. She'd jump at the chance to act. The Smith household is in complete chaos. Lucas Smith's unspeakable feelings for Ophelia Smith were exposed. Mrs. Smith cried and scolded. Pointing at Ophelia Smith, I knew raising you would bring no good. He's your brother, Mr. Smith's face darkened. Convinced this was a family scandal, both of them unceremoniously blamed Ophelia Smith for the whole affair. Ophelia Smith stared blankly at her parents, who had always doted on her with warmth and care, as they tore off their masks overnight, as if they had become completely different people. Before the incident, that day's phone call with me had been weighing on Ophelia Smith's mind. She found an excuse to get the keys alone and went to Lucas Smith's villa, sneaking into the basement. As soon as she turned on the light, Ophelia Smith's pupils contracted sharply. The villa's basement was filled with photos of her, candid shots from every angle. From middle school to high school to the gaps between her return trips home, Ophelia Smith began to tremble uncontrollably. She flipped through photo after photo, her stomach churning with nausea. Lucas Smith, spying on her, in a panic. She knew this was something the Smiths must never find out. However, Ophelia Smith couldn't contain her impatience. She stayed in the villa, waiting for Lucas Smith to return, and immediately confronted him upon his arrival. She wanted to know how she had spent the past 20 years without any privacy. Little did she know, she was caught red-handed by the arriving Mr. and Mrs. Smith. When I returned to the Smith household, things were scattered all over the floor. Ophelia Smith had blood trickling from her forehead, hit by the ashtray Mr. Smith had thrown. She sat on the floor and looked up at me. You knew all along. She mouthed words to me, tears streaming from the corners of her eyes, her gaze filled with unconcealed fear. Standing to the side, Lucas Smith was dressed in a suit, looking every bit the well-dressed beast, his anger still simmering. The tension between him and the Smith couple remained explosive, the air thick with hostility. Lucas Smith said with a dark expression, now that Nina Smith is back, there's no need for Ophelia to marry for alliance. It's time for someone else to take her place. Mrs. Smith shouted, what nonsense are you spouting? Do you still want to keep Ophelia Smith by your side? Have you lost your mind? Mr. Smith looked down from his superior position. The demeanor of a superior dismissed Lucas Smith's words. If that's what you say, then we certainly can't keep her around. A shocking statement emerged. Lucas Smith's shamelessness reaches such a level that one can't help but wonder what kind of cells he's made of. 738 calmly, Nina, need someone to take over. I didn't hold back either. What a coincidence. I've been thinking about it for a long time too. Come on. 738. Fight however you want. Under the gaze of the crowd, 738 opened his eyes, shook his arms, and threw a right hook. The farce ended with Lucas Smith's howl. Ophelia Smith, hugging her legs, was locked in a room, under the command of 738. I skillfully pried open the door. What are you here for again? Ophelia Smith's face was expressionless. Amid the scene where everyone tore off their masks, she must have felt despair for a while. the parents were not her biological ones. They raised her for an arranged marriage. This was a devastating blow. Seeing the usually gentle and kind mother's ferocious face and the father's cold gaze. The impact was so severe that Ophelia Smith began to question the very meaning of her existence. Should she even be alive? And if so, for what purpose? Not only that, but her brother's vile intentions imposed upon her resulted in her entire student years being strictly controlled. She began to wonder what she truly was in this household, a tool, a pet, or something else. I bent down, brushed aside the stray hairs by Ophelia Smith's cheek, and placed the withered daisy bouquet into her arms. Her eyes slowly widened. You, how did it get here? Saw it in the trash outside, thrown by Lucas Smith. Ophelia Smith's situation isn't great. The Smiths threw out all her belongings, and Lucas Smith was actually supportive of that. He handled Ophelia Smith's personal belongings, among which was this bundle of dried flowers. I gently touched that beautiful, pale face. I know, you've never really cut ties with him, have you? Behind the backs of Lucas Smith and his wife. Ophelia Smith remained in contact with that boy from back then. He was her first love. Ophelia Smith frantically wiped away her tears, stubbornly turning her face away to avoid looking at me. Or do you prefer someone like Lucas Smith? Ophelia Smith shuddered for a moment, trembling all over. She instinctively shook her head. She knows better than anyone else about Lucas Smith's desire to control the Smith family group. Just the thought of being secretly photographed, stalked, and controlled is enough to drive her to the brink. She can't imagine a future where she might never step out of Lucas Smith's villa again. She suspects Lucas Smith is truly capable of going that far. I lower my gaze, looking at Ophelia Smith. Are you scared? Ophelia Smith, as if drained of strength, wipes her tears fiercely and says coldly, you're no good person either. I smile with my eyes curved. He gently embraced her, resting his chin on the crook of her neck. I could feel Ophelia Smith's entire body stiffen in that instant. Do you want freedom to chase happiness with him? Ophelia Smith trembled even more violently. Ophelia, I said softly, I can help you. On the way back to the hotel, 738 suddenly spoke up. Don't get too close to people next time. It's dangerous. It's fine. She's Ophelia Smith. Yes, we can't predict when danger will strike. Me? All right. Are you concerned about me? Just worried about your safety. Ophelia Smith unusually agreed to an arranged marriage. She was much more obedient than usual, well-behaved and quiet. The Smith family has been kind to me. I will listen to you. After all, Mrs. Smith had raised her for many years, and immediately changed her expression. Ophelia, I know you're the most sensible child. Mom is doing this for your own good. It's best that you understand. Lucas Smith's eyes were dark and unreadable. Ophelia Smith clutched her skirt, lightly biting her lip. As I passed through the living room, Mrs. Smith subjected me to a barrage of criticism. I locked eyes with Ophelia Smith. She got the message, quickly looked away, her eyes instantly turning red as she glanced faintly at Lucas Smith. Lucas Smith frowned and turned his gaze toward me. I flipped him the bird. 738 suddenly said, Nina Smith. The tone was somewhat heavy. I went back to the hotel and stayed there. 738. Are you angry? 738 paused slightly. It's too dangerous. I don't want you to take the risk. It's fine. I looked at the ceiling and whispered pleadingly. Just once. 738. It'll work. I've already taught Ophelia Smith properly what to do. 738 remained silent. Please. One last time. When I woke up, I found my body completely paralyzed. 738. 738. No one answered. I saw my own body stand up and walk toward the door. The people Lucas Smith had prepared outside immediately covered my face, and now this, me, had passed out. 738 was controlling my body, ignoring my cries. I watched as it was tied up and thrown into the abandoned warehouse. 738 naturally wouldn't faint. It opened its eyes, their color slightly dimmed. I told you, I'll always protect you. No need to call me to switch back this time. I won't return control of the body. To ensure my safety, it forcibly took control of my body and intended to maintain that control until the matter was resolved. I gradually calmed down, only to discover something fascinating. So you really can control the body directly. 738 paused, suddenly feeling a bit guilty. You never took the initiative to control me, and even told me we had to close our eyes to switch. With each control session lasting no more than 5 minutes. 738. Why is that? 738. as a system. Experienced human psychological sensations for the first time, inexplicably feeling a tingling scalp. Can a system really not fall in love with a human? 738's breathing grew heavier, pretending not to hear what I said. Lucas Smith kidnapped me. This place is part of his gray industry operations. Very hard to locate. No big deal. I planted a tracker on myself beforehand. Counting back 3 generations from the Smith family, the gray industry chain has been operating in the shadows. By the time it reached this generation's Lucas Smith, he took it to another level, directly doubling the scale of the gray industry. This counts as a bet, betting that Ophelia Smith won't change her mind, betting that Ophelia Smith will follow all my orders and arrangements, and cleverly access Lucas Smith's computer. Lucas Smith walks up to me, he patted my face. I didn't expect you'd dare to come back. He wanted to get even for that punch. 738 smile. His pupils reflected the faint blue glow of 738's eyes. You, Lucas Smith was both startled and doubtful. Your eyes, we've met many times before. 738's vocal cords vibrated with dual tones, skillfully breaking free from the ropes, his left hand gripping the opponent's wrist before delivering a fierce shoulder throw. Bang! The wail of sirens grew louder, approaching from a distance. A large number of armed police officers sealed off the scene. Freeze. Ophelia Smith jumped out of the police car in disarray, her hair a mess, her forehead covered in fine beads of sweat. Everything copied from Lucas Smith's computer was on the USB drive in her hand. Her hands were trembling, and there was blood on them. It was from knocking out the bodyguard at the study door with a vase. She flung the USB drive at him with force. Catch! I reached out and grabbed it in one swift motion. Ophelia Smith wiped her tears and shouted at me. You owe me compensation for emotional distress. She had endured plenty of disgust, humbling herself and feigning misery to provoke Lucas Smith into kidnapping me. Ophelia Smith, who had spent the better half of her life brimming with confidence and pride, was truly using her brain for the first time. First, she had to keep it hidden from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and second, she had to ensure success in one attempt. Lucas Smith wasn't easily fooled. But he lost his head amidst Ophelia Smith's tears and her frenzied, manipulative words. He genuinely believed she hated me. After all, he was the one who had grown up with Ophelia Smith. Twisted love and blind confidence can cloud one's judgment. Besides, what could a mere woman possibly do? He thought, why not just swap me in instead? Lucas Smith completely lost the last thread of his rationality amidst Ophelia Smith's final plea. Brother, please, I'll listen to you from now on. He kept Ophelia Smith confined in his private villa and proceeded to orchestrate my kidnapping, intending to forcibly exchange me for Ophelia Smith. After all, she's young and beautiful, and a daughter of the Smith family. Any alliance would be advantageous. The police arrested Lucas Smith on charges of kidnapping. He remained calm and composed, confident that the Smith couple would bail him out, until I showed up with the USB drive. Do you think getting these secrets means you can take over the Smith family? The handcuffs on Lucas Smith's wrists gleamed coldly, the fluorescent lights of the interrogation room burning 2 dark flames in his eyes. I was utterly baffled. What's the point of taking over the Smith family? Lucas Smith, locking him inside is the real goal. Who said I was going to take over? The filthy gray industry is thriving, and whoever takes it over feels cursed. As the 20 years of black market transactions from the Shin Group cascade into view, the Smith family is utterly ruined by Lucas Smith. Mr. Smith, overwhelmed by rage, fell gravely ill. Mrs. Smith spewed venomous curses at me over the phone. I patiently listened to her complaints on the other end of the phone before hanging up. Lucas Smith looked utterly haggard and asked me his final 3 words before entering. Why not? I glanced around. With a strange expression, I pointed at myself. Are you asking me why? He had forgotten about his own disgraceful past of over 20 years. It's okay if your memory is bad, as long as you keep working, there's hope. 738 still lives inside my body. 738 went into a brief 2-day hibernation after forcibly taking control of the body last time, and woke up to hear me chanting. 738,738,738,738,738. Stop chanting, I'm alive. I was overjoyed. Great, it's 738, we're saved. 738 laughed at my antics. Where did you learn that from? I didn't say much else, just quietly murmured like a sigh, I wonder why 738 is protecting me like this. 738 speechless. Can systems really not fall in love with humans? Or is it that systems actually can love humans, but some just aren't very good at expressing it? A long time later, a soft drifted through the air. I smiled faintly. That's enough. My relationship with Ophelia Smith has eased. She invited me to dinner with her first love. Her personality has quieted down considerably. She's become more low-key, found a stable job, and is happy with her first love like an ordinary couple. Anyway, thank you. She pressed her lips together. In the past, I had many faults and shortcomings. I don't dare hope for your forgiveness. Just that you'd be willing to see me. At this point, Ophelia Smith smiled faintly, her expression revealing a sense of contentment. The days of constantly denying herself were finally over. The filthy home was finally left behind. I hope, Ophelia Smith bit her lip, that you'll be happy too, whether you're alone or with someone. She was still just a stubborn, awkward little girl at heart. I thought about it, alone, yet not alone. Ophelia Smith was slightly confused. I stood up and waved at her. Goodbye, put on your coat. It's cold outside. Fasten all the buttons before going out. I promptly hit the brakes as advised, and got dressed. Now it's time for the story between me and 738, which should set sail in the smooth-sailing future ahead. 738's voice carried an unspoken tenderness. The highest form of proxy fighting is to pummel all the malice in the world for me, then teach me to shine on my own. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My parents divorced. And it was a choice between the family assets and me. In my past life, my mother resolutely chose me. As a result, we struggled to make ends meet, living through each day as if it were a year. My mother even collapsed from exhaustion at the construction site and fell to her death, reborn back to the moment of their divorce. Before Mom could make a choice, I rushed to say, I want to stay with Dad. I hugged his wheelchair, showing genuine emotion, because I knew his paralysis was fake, actually. He was the youngest son of the wealthiest family in the provincial capital. Susan, I can't hold you back any longer, let's get divorced. When my mother, who had just finished 3 jobs, returned home, she hadn't even had time to shower. Dad in the wheelchair brought up divorce. He had mentioned it before, saying he didn't want to burden us, but Mom could always talk him out of it with just a few words. But today was different. His expression was too serious. It seemed like divorce was the only option. No wonder he's anxious. His first love is coming back tomorrow. When my dad was in high school, there was a girl he liked. Later, after the college entrance exams, the girl went abroad to study. My dad has never been able to forget her. Once, he saved a girl on the road but ended up getting injured himself. That girl was my mom. My mom took my dad to the hospital and cared for him day and night. The doctor said my dad was at risk of paralysis. My mother told him she would take care of him for a lifetime, so the two fell in love, got married, and had me. Actually, my father's legs had long since healed, but he never told my mother. My mom worked 3 jobs every day, chronically sleep-deprived. The entire family's burden rested on her shoulders alone. She still held on to hope of curing my father's leg, yet all those imported medications she bought were flushed down the toilet by my dad. I overheard his phone call and learned about his twisted hobby. I married her precisely because she wanted to repay me. I'm curious how long she can keep it up. Why did we get married? Probably because she's dumb enough. She actually thought I was just an ordinary cripple, working 3 jobs a day to support me. Little does she know, her daily wages are less than what I casually tip restaurant servers. How long will I play with her? Until I get bored, I suppose. Right now, I find it quite amusing. My father didn't wait until he got bored because his first love came back, and she reached out to him first. He was so excited he couldn't sleep all night, but soon realized one thing. He was already married and had me, but these 10 years of marriage didn't make him hesitate for long. His first move was to divorce my mother, yet he didn't reveal the truth, still pretending to be deeply in love. The reason for the divorce was simply not wanting to burden her. In truth, for my dad, my mom and I were the ones burdening him, and given my mom's personality, she would definitely refuse the assets and choose me. Susan, make your decision quickly. Do you want the assets or your daughter? At the very moment my mother was about to make her choice, I suddenly hugged my father's leg. Dad, I want to stay with you. I'll take care of you for the rest of my life. Not only did my father show a surprised expression, even my mother looked disappointed. Heidi. She stared at me in disbelief. Since childhood, my father, taking advantage of his paralysis, never did anything. My mom worked 3 jobs to earn money. She took me with her when delivering food. She wrapped me inside her yellow delivery uniform, leaving only my head exposed. In her eyes, our bond couldn't be anything but strong. So, I chose my dad, which greatly disappointed her. She still wanted to argue. Heidi, your dad's legs are bad. If you go with him, you'll suffer. My dad also tried to push me away, but I clung to him desperately. This was a hidden tycoon. How could I possibly let go? I won't make the wrong choice this time. So I ignored my mother's disappointed gaze, and my father could only reluctantly agree. Choosing me meant forfeiting the family assets, but my mother, fearing we wouldn't survive, voluntarily left with nothing. My father stood by, hesitating to speak. In the end, I still didn't reveal my true identity. Perhaps I didn't want any complications before my first love returned. Before my mother left, she said to me, Heidi, if you ever face any difficulties, come to me, I'll always be your mother. With that said, she dragged her exhausted body out of the house. I gathered all the money in the house. I caught up to her and shoved all the money into her hands. Mom, in this lifetime, do what you want to do. After my mom left, my dad immediately took me to buy a lottery ticket. The next evening, he held me in front of the TV, 01, 03, 15, 16, 22, 33, 7, all matched. Heidi, Dad won the lottery, we can go to the hospital to treat my legs, and we can even live in a big house now. Because I was only 7 years old, my dad came up with an excuse that didn't even sound like one. His leg miraculously recovered overnight, and we moved into his villa. That very night, he gathered a bunch of friends to celebrate his return to singlehood. Kevin, am back. Kevin's treating tonight. Dozens of bottles of wine worth tens of thousands were opened, and the dishes were prepared by 5-star hotel chefs called to cook at home. Just this one night's expenses would take my mother 10 years to earn. Back when we ate at home, the phrase I heard most often was, I've already eaten at the restaurant. The customers left a lot of food. All these takeout boxes contain untouched dishes from the customers. You and Dad can eat without worry, even if it was just leftovers. That was still the best time I had eaten in my previous life. Later, after they got divorced, life became even harder for my mom after she took me with her. Though she was still working 3 jobs, she would regularly transfer money to my dad's bank account every month. She said my dad was disabled and must be having an even tougher time alone. By the time she passed away, she had transferred a total of 30,000 yuan to my dad's account over 12 months. My mom's monthly salary at the construction site, 2,700 yuan, was all sent over. Another 300 yuan came from selling scrap iron wires and similar items she collected at the site. As for herself, she survived on just steamed buns and pickles every day. Meanwhile, in my dad's villa, I was indulging in delicacies I had never tasted before, tears streaming down my face. His friend whispered to him, "What's wrong with your daughter? Why is she crying while eating?" My dad said, "Kids are like this, always crying over nothing." His friend then asked, "Winnie will be back soon. How are you going to explain this burden?" My father patted my head and said, "I have my own way." On the day Winnie returned, my dad took me to the airport early in the morning to pick her up. He put on a custom-tailored suit and got a stylish haircut. He also dressed me up like a little princess. On the way, he reminded me, "Heidi, the auntie Dad is about to meet is very important." In front of her, "Don't call me Dad, call me Uncle, okay? If you behave well, Dad will buy you a pretty dress." This was the solution he came up with. I put on an innocent expression and said, "Daddy, Heidi will be good. Heidi will listen to you. As long as Daddy is happy, Heidi will do anything." He patted my hair with relief, but his eyes remained fixed on the arrival's gate. After waiting for half an hour, all the passengers from that flight had disembarked, yet there was no sign of Winnie. Just as my father was scratching his head in anxiety, someone tapped him on the shoulder from behind. "Hey, old classmate." A woman wearing sunglasses, with delicate features, stood behind us. My dad looked at her, his expression shifting from confusion to excitement. Old classmate. They were about to embrace when I stepped between them. "Auntie, hello, my dad, I mean. My uncle has been waiting for you for so long." Winnie glanced at me but didn't catch the hint in my words. She patted my head and said, what an adorable child, you even look a bit alike. My dad immediately responded, it's my sister's child, entrusted to me for a while. Winnie said, no wonder. Then she said somewhat shyly, I came back to the country in a hurry this time and didn't book a hotel. Could I stay at your place for a few days? A glimmer of joy flashed in my father's eyes. Of course you can, we're old classmates after all. Holding my father's hand with one hand and Winnie's with the other, I skipped along happily. How much we resembled a blissful family of three. I think even my dad wouldn't consider me a burden at this moment, would he? And Winnie, she probably wouldn't either. Back at the villa, my dad showed Winnie around her room. He had already called to arrange it while we were on the road. Sure enough, upon opening the door to the room, I saw all the pink elements. Winnie smiled. It's rare that you still remember my preferences. My dad smiled apologetically. Time was tight, so we didn't have time to paint. We just put up wallpaper, all eco-friendly materials, so there won't be any odor. My room is right next door, quite ordinary. In contrast, Winnie seemed more like the mistress of the house. She also acted very familiar. In the evening, she personally made a pot of borscht. It was a bit salty, but my dad finished it all. He even praised Winnie for being virtuous, yet in the 10 years my mom cooked for him, he never once gave her a compliment. Often, while my mom was busy cooking in the kitchen, he would just be playing with his phone nearby. Only when the meal was ready would she bring him water to wash his hands and serve him his rice. My mom could finally get a moment of rest. She wanted to talk to my dad, but all she ever got in return was impatience. Sometimes I wonder, what keeps my mom going? A sense of responsibility. Unfortunately, she misjudged the person. My dad isn't bad at conversation. He was chatting happily with Winnie, from embarrassing school stories to post-graduation experiences. The atmosphere between the two quickly grew heated. After dinner, my father went upstairs to shower, while Winnie prepared a glass of milk. Then I saw her drop a pill into it. Only when she turned around did she notice me, sitting there reading. She seemed a bit flustered and was about to explain. But I spoke first. Auntie Winnie, can you tell me a story when you're done? She nodded, somewhat puzzled, but still carried the milk upstairs. That night, I didn't get to hear her story. She and my dad were too busy. I don't know why she was in such a hurry to establish a relationship with my dad, even without the drugs. It should have happened quickly. Anyway, the next day, my dad bought her a huge diamond ring. It reminds me of my mom. She had a jewelry box with a diamond ring inside. Very small and fake, but she often smiled while looking at it. Only those who lack love would care so much about these small favors. But my mother came from a happy family. She shouldn't have been like this. Yet, to marry my disabled father, she cut ties with them. Now that they're divorced, I wonder if she can mend that relationship. I inquired about my mother's whereabouts. She was still working 3 jobs. What was she working so hard for? Later, I saw her lingering in front of a toy store. She had taken me shopping before, and though I lingered for a long time, I was too sensible to say anything, but my fondness didn't escape her notice. She wanted to use this to win my favor, because I hadn't replied to her messages in a long time. She must have thought I didn't want her anymore. Although I hoped she could have her own life and stand on her own feet, I didn't want her to do these things while swallowing bitterness. So I still found her and told her what I thought. Mom, what I want in the future isn't just toys, but also beautiful clothes. I want to go to college, and all of these will cost a lot of money. If I stay with you, you'll be even more exhausted. So while Dad and I are gone, try to find a job with better pay and more free time. When you're truly doing better, I'll definitely come back. My mom held me tightly, earnestly promising that things would get better. I told her, exhaustion doesn't bring happiness, only hopeful effort does. Before leaving, she asked how my dad was doing now. I told her not to judge a person solely by appearances. I didn't tell her the truth, because she hasn't found her footing yet. Without material security, any bad news feels like the sky is falling. After separating from her, I didn't leave immediately. Instead, I secretly recorded a video of her working at the construction site. I anonymously sent the video to her grandparents, as biological parents. Seeing their pampered daughter in such a difficult situation was naturally unbearable for them. Upon inquiring further, they learned that their daughter had gotten divorced. Their parental love suddenly surged. They took my mother back home. The long-lost family affection left everyone deeply moved. But my mother didn't stay idle at home. She still chose to go out and strive. Only this time, she had her parents' support and someone to rely on. Unlike her previous life, where she was always the one being relied upon, she temporarily quit her job because it wasn't that urgent. Moreover, her previous job didn't allow her to take her daughter back. She wandered around the commercial street, searching for opportunities. Suddenly, she spotted a job posting from a design company, and her eyes lit up. She studied design, and if she hadn't met my dad later, she might have become a designer. Once, while collecting bottles, she saw the news about the bankruptcy of James' family jewelry company on a big screen. When she came back, she discussed it with my dad, saying that the design of James' family company had been problematic for the past few years. The company's strategy of moving further away from the public and trying to go high-end was completely wrong, but my father dismissed it with contempt, saying what could a woman like my mother possibly understand. Seeing my father respond to her for the first time, my mother wanted to continue speaking, yet my father inexplicably flew into a rage. Years later, I learned the truth about his identity. It turned out he was the young master of the Taylor family's company, and the Taylor family had been feuding with the James family for over a decade. My father refused to admit that the James family had brought about their own downfall. Not because the Taylor family was particularly competitive in this life. Without my father's suppression, my mother gathered her courage and submitted her resume to the James family's company. During the interview, she wasn't viewed favorably. After all, she was a woman in her 30s with little experience as a designer, but coincidentally, the company's heiress saw the design sketches my mother had drawn during the interview. His eyes instantly lit up. She went against all opposition and kept my mother. I wonder if the fate of the James family jewelry will also change in this lifetime. Meanwhile, my father was getting along famously with Winnie. The two were inseparable, indulging in nightly revelries. When Winnie expressed her wish to work at the Taylor family conglomerate to gain professional experience, my father agreed without hesitation. Yet in my memory, even when my mother worked 3 jobs and endured countless hardships, he never once considered using his position to make any arrangements for her. The difference between love and indifference is so vast. When it comes to matters concerning me, my father shows no concern whatsoever. After all, I wasn't born to him and Winnie. In contrast, Winnie has been quite kind to me. Whatever my dad bought for her, she would make sure he got me one too. Whenever there was a trip planned, she would take me along. Ever since I turned a blind eye to her affairs last time, we've developed our own unspoken understanding. I sold off the expensive liquor from the villa, while she secretly peeked at my dad's business plans. Occasionally when we met, we'd tacitly go our separate ways. Sometimes we'd even cover for each other. My dad would be delighted to see us getting along so well. He'd clink glasses with us, unaware that we each had ulterior motives. My mother still found out about my father's situation. After all, he had so publicly announced his intention to marry Winnie. On screen, he was impeccably dressed, standing perfectly straight. There was no trace of the paralysis that should have kept him in a wheelchair. At that moment, my mother finally realized she had been deceived for 10 years. When she saw Winnie's appearance, she knew she was just a substitute for his first love. But the grand wedding he was willing to give would never be for a substitute like her. Even his identity was completely fabricated. At the wedding, the parents-in-law she bowed to and served tea were just temporary actors. She only felt ridiculous. Fortunately, she still had her daughter. But did her daughter know about all this? Was she also helping him deceive her? Otherwise, why would she choose to go with her dad? At this thought, her tears fell uncontrollably. She opened the door, and I stood at the doorway. She hugged me tightly. "Heidi, do you know about your dad?" I nodded, and a flash of despair crossed her eyes. "But I haven't known for long. I knew before you got divorced, but I think leaving him wasn't a bad thing for you. I once found a photo at home, a much younger you in a student uniform, with light in your eyes back then. I don't want you to focus all your thoughts on me and my dad. He doesn't deserve it, and I don't need it. I want you to have a more self-fulfilling life, a brighter future. I want you to shine." You probably wouldn't believe it coming from a 7-year-old child, but if I told you I'd been reborn, you wouldn't believe that either, would you? My mother held me even tighter. "I believe you. I believe everything you say, my child." I smiled. I knew it. My mother was just that kind of foolishly trusting mom. My mother held me and asked me many things about my past life. Although I didn't want to talk about it, she still asked about her own fate. I told her that although we had a hard life, we were also happy, until she fell to her death at the construction site. Everything had been moving in a positive direction. My mom started crying. I comforted her, saying that in this life, I would definitely change her fate. Unexpectedly, she hugged me tightly and said, after I was gone, you must have suffered a lot, didn't you? So that's what she was concerned about. My tears fell like broken strings of pearls. My whole body trembling. It's okay, Mom, in this lifetime. We'll only have sweetness, no bitterness. My father was very invested in the matter of his wedding with his first love. He handled everything himself, from booking the hotel to finding a wedding planning company. In contrast, Winnie, the main character, didn't seem too concerned about it. She kept postponing the wedding date repeatedly. Meanwhile, in the business world, the competition between the James family and the Taylor family was heating up. The James family's company strategy has shifted. Now targeting the low-end customer market, rumor has it the decision was personally approved by the company's heiress. They've also snatched several major contracts from the Taylor family. What's puzzling is that the James family seem to have precise knowledge of the Taylor family's pricing. The young master of the Taylor family, my father, had long lost interest in the business. His heart was set on eloping with his first love. But all lies are eventually exposed. It turned out Winnie had always been a corporate spy. In the competition between the James family and the Taylor family, the two children of the James family took completely different paths. The daughter of the James family built her own design team and changed the company's sales strategy, and my mother happened to be involved in it. The son of the James family, however, adopted a different approach. He hired my father's first love, spending a fortune to make her a corporate spy, stealing the Taylor family's business plans. With both strategies in play, the Taylor family suffered a crushing defeat. On the wedding day, my father waited at the hotel until closing time. Winnie only sent him one message, thanking him for his financial support, saying she was going abroad again and wouldn't return. My dad was so angry that he smashed the entire banquet. After his infatuation cooled down, he finally noticed the company's dire situation, but it was already too late. A skyscraper takes a long time to build, but collapses in an instant. My dad's company went bankrupt, and the villa was sold. He became worthless. Even eating became a problem. Fortunately, there were still 30,000 yuan left in the card my mom had previously given him. It wouldn't be a problem to support his living expenses for a while. Only then did he remember how good my mother was. He started frantically searching for her. All the messages he sent me were blocked. I'm already with my mother now. By secretly selling the fine wines from the villa earlier, I had saved up a small sum of money. After handing it all over to my mom, she opened a studio. Since the Taylor family went bankrupt, she had left the James family's corporation, as it turned out. This decision proved to be absolutely correct, because the James family heiress only made changes as a gesture to compete for control. In reality, after she was elected as the chairperson, the James family returned to their original design direction, and those key contributors were also cleverly removed by the James family heiress. My mother chose to leave voluntarily and received a decent compensation. We're living well now, but I still can't help worrying. I'm afraid her feelings for my father run too deep. If they meet again, history might repeat itself. But just as I feared, the inevitable happened. My mother ran into my father at a trade fair. Back then, she was dressed in professional attire, wearing high heels. Meanwhile, my dad had messy hair and an unshaven face. The moment he saw my mom, he tried to hug her, but he was shoved away by the young guy my mom had just hired. My father was furious, pointing at the young man's nose and yelling, "Do you know who I am? I'm your boss's husband." The young man looked at my mother in confusion, and my mother said to my father, "We're already divorced, and now we have no relationship whatsoever. Please don't disturb my normal life." Hearing this, the young man regained his confidence. "Did you hear that? Get lost, you beggar. Where did you come from?" My dad was furious but knew there was no reasoning with him. He then turned to my mom and said, "Susan, I was wrong before. I shouldn't have lied to you. Let's remarry now and live a good life together." My mother scoffed, "You lied to me for 10 years, and now you expect me to come back with just one sentence? You try working 3 jobs and enduring all that hardship I went through, then come talk to me." My father, as if seeing a glimmer of hope, said with great enthusiasm, "Just wait and see. With my abilities, I'll soon earn enough money to prove it to you." My mother looked down on him and had the staff drive him away. As for my father, he soon learned how hard life could be within a few days. He went job hunting but kept hitting walls everywhere. No one wanted a bossy man who knew nothing and only gave orders. My dad couldn't find a good job, so he thought about following my mom's footsteps and trying some service industry work. but he couldn't tell wheat from beans and was lazy with his limbs. Nobody wanted him. Later, he decided to start his own business, only to have his savings swindled away. It was then that he finally understood how hard it is to earn money. It also made him realize how hard my mom had worked back then. Having lost all his capital, he came to school to find me again. Heidi, do you have any of the pocket money Dad gave you left? Give me a little, and I'll pay you back double later. It's all gone. I spent it all. How could this be? That's so much money. How could you spend so recklessly? Who taught you this? After saying this, his own face turned red first. I replied, I spent it with Aunt Winnie. Didn't you give her your bank card and tell her to swipe it freely? Hearing me mention Winnie, my father's face paled noticeably. He hesitated for a moment, then spoke to me in a gentler tone. Would you like our family to be reunited? Then you, before he could finish, I interrupted him. No, why? My dad really couldn't understand this time. He didn't know why a 7-year-old child wouldn't want both parents by their side. I said, I've seen how hard my mom worked, and I know how much you lied. You don't really think that just because you regret it now, people will forget how bad you used to be, do you? My mom works 3 jobs a day. Who's the one at home heating your meals and bringing you tea and water? It's me. I've been taking care of you since I was 5. Do you really think you're a good dad? I don't know what my mom told you, but I won't forgive you. If she asks for my opinion, I'll never let her remarry you. After saying this, I turned and left. My dad showed a disappointed and resentful expression behind my back. As soon as the school bell rang, I hopped on my bike and rushed home. When I reached the entrance of a small alley, someone suddenly jumped out from behind the wall, moving as fast as a ghost. He covered my mouth with one hand, his strength terrifyingly strong. I couldn't see anything anymore. A coarse cloth bag was suddenly pulled over my head, plunging everything into darkness. I was terrified, only aware of being dragged along, stumbling blindly, with no idea where I was being taken. When I was finally forced onto a hard chair, a man's voice, deliberately low and hoarse, growled menacingly, Call your mom, tell her to bring $1 million right now to get you back. You hear me? Call her now. The voice sounded terrifying, but just as he covered my mouth. And now at this close distance, an all too familiar scent wafted into my nose. Suddenly, I wasn't afraid anymore. Instead, I found it incredibly funny and couldn't help but let out a pft of laughter. What are you laughing at? The hoarse voice suddenly rose, sounding a bit panicked, the ferocity instantly giving way to its true nature. I laughed even more recklessly. Dad, I called out directly. Do you really have no idea how much money Mom has? The surroundings fell into a deathly silence. I continued, she's not like when you were paralyzed, in bed, working 3 jobs to the point of exhaustion. Even if she could still push herself that hard, $1 million, you expect her to pull that out of thin air in a few days, rob a bank or something. The cloth bag over my head was suddenly yanked off. The blinding light made my eyes ache. Squinting, I blinked hard and finally saw the face before me, flushed red with shock and fury. It really is my dad. His greasy hair clung to his forehead, with dark circles hanging under his eyes. How did you recognize me? His voice dropped the act, asking dryly. I rubbed my eyes and looked at him. Dad, have you forgotten those years you pretended to be paralyzed? Someone had to take care of your every need, eating, drinking, even using the bathroom. Who was it that wiped your face and body every day, applying that miracle ointment? That lotion mixed with safflower oil. The smell soaked into your skin from daily use. I could recognize it from a mile away. My father's face turned from red to white, then from white to purple. His lips trembled, speechless, as he gasped for breath in sheer fury. Are you doing this on purpose? I stared into his eyes, asking for so much money. You know my mom can't possibly come up with it. Are you waiting for her to have no choice but to beg you for help in tears, or maybe? I deliberately paused. Has that pathetic little hope in your heart not died yet? Do you really expect my mom to magically produce $1 million for you? You're talking nonsense. My dad jumped up as if pricked by a needle, the chair legs scraping a harsh sound against the floor. He pointed at me, the veins on his neck bulging. You're spouting rubbish. I didn't. I'm not that despicable, he shouted loudly. But it sounded particularly hollow. I wasn't scared at all. Instead, I leaned back in my chair and curled my lips. Dad, save your breath. My voice was very calm. I carry half of your blood in me. What kind of person you are? How could I not know? Selfish and calculating, only looking out for yourself. you'll pretend to be anything to get what you want. Before, you faked paralysis to trick mom into taking care of you. Now you're pretending to be a kidnapper to extort her. Same old tricks. We share the same blood. You can't fool me. My father glared at me fiercely, his eyes bloodshot, filled with a mix of shame, anger, and the viciousness of a cornered beast. He panted heavily, suddenly thrusting his hand into the grimy pocket of his coat and pulling out a roll of dusty, coarse rope. Oh yeah, he took a step closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Do you know what I'm capable of when I'm pushed too far? He stared into my eyes with a murderous glare. I nodded. It's mutual destruction. His hand gripping the rope suddenly clenched tight, his knuckles turning white. My tone didn't change at all, as if I were talking about someone else's business. Just kill me then, a clean break. Dead men tell no tales, perfect for covering up your disgusting act of kidnapping your own daughter and blackmailing your ex-wife. And by the way, I even managed to smile. That way, you can completely let go of whatever lingering feelings you had for my mom. Everyone can move on cleanly, right? My dad let out a low growl from his throat, gripping the rope as if he was about to lunge at me. Right at this critical moment, the piercing sound of police sirens suddenly blared out. Wah, wah, wah. The sound was close and loud, as if right outside the door. My dad froze in his tracks. It was as if he'd been struck by lightning. The ferocity on his face instantly turned into sheer terror. He whipped his head around to stare at the tightly shut, battered iron door. As though trying to see right through it with his eyes. Did you call the police? He suddenly turned his head back, his voice cracking, his eyes fixed on the electronic watch on my wrist. I raised my wrist to show him. The watch screen was lit, with a tiny red alarm icon flashing on and off. Dad, what era is this now? It's a smartwatch. Just press a button to call the police, and they'll know exactly where I am. You should watch the news more often. It's over. It's all over. My father muttered in despair, his face as pale as paper. With a terrified shriek, like a rabbit scared out of its wits, he turned and ran without another glance at me. He stumbled as he ran, fleeing in panic. His foot suddenly caught on a large, rusted iron pipe lying across the ground. Ah, a short, sharp cry escaped him. He lost his balance completely and fell face first onto the concrete like a heavy sack, immediately followed by an extremely terrifying, crack sound of bone breaking. He clutched his left leg, letting out a pig-slaughtering howl, writhing in pain on the ground as cold sweat poured out like water. The leg twisted into a horrifying angle, completely broken. This time, there was no need to pretend anymore. The warehouse door crashed open with a loud bang. The icy handcuffs snapped shut around his wrists with a sharp click, as the police hauled him up. His face, twisted with agony and despair, turned toward me one last time. His eyes burned with hatred, shame, and the ashen glow of utter ruin. Several months passed. One ordinary afternoon, a crumpled craft paper envelope was slipped through our door crack. The envelope bore a prison's return address and a hastily scrawled name. My mother was in the living room flipping through a travel magazine featuring beautiful beaches. She glanced at the envelope on the floor, her expression unchanged. She said nothing, casually flipping a page of the magazine. I walked over and picked up the envelope. It was light. Without looking, I carried it straight to the trash can, lifted the lid, and tossed the envelope inside. Mom, I raised my head, my voice light. Our flight is at 3 this afternoon, right? My mom closed the magazine, a bright smile appearing on her face. She stood up briskly, pulling over 2 brand new suitcases beside her, their wheels making smooth rolling sounds on the floor. We closed the door, locked it, and walked out of the unit dragging the suitcases behind us. The afternoon sunlight outside was dazzlingly bright, warm and cozy on the skin. My mother walked beside me, her back straight and upright. I took a deep breath, the sun scorching my skin. The road beneath our feet was wide and bright, stretching endlessly ahead. The suitcase wheels rattle and hum, as if singing a tune. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.